Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful evening with us on Live with Lloyd. I am your host, Lloyd Strayhorn, the astronumerologist. Thank you for joining the Live with Lloyd family. I have with me a young lady I haven't had on in what we would call a New York minute, although she don't live in New York, but still a New York minute. It's been a while. Her name is Cali. She is a wonderful person. She's got a most beautiful family, her son and her husband. And we're going to be talking about something very, very interesting today. But before we do, let me know that our sponsors are being brought to you by Visit Islam, his intellectualpowers.net. So when you're ordering his wonderful supplements, make sure you click on the when you click on the QR code to put in numbers. That way you get a discount on the supplements. Also, Jazz Aphrodite's event is coming up on the 6th. So it's a Iyami Oracle deck. And it's going to be, and in fact, the creator herself is going to be a part of that. That's coming up on the 6th, the masterclass. Just go to jazzaphrodite.com, please. All righty. I don't know why I'm a little tongue tied today. Anyway, King Simon is going to be having an event in 2 Sundays from now to honor Baba Dick Gregory. And so that's going to be and also, see, I've got to remove that little thing so you can click on the barcode to get QR code to get some information. Also, the show is brought to you, sponsored by Miss Kimberly. Go to Kimberly, KIMBALEY.com to get your information. Also, Nicholas Brooklyn, for where I'll be out at this Sunday at 1396 Fulton Street. So for those of you in the Brooklyn, Manhattan, Bronx area have been asking, I will be there this particular Sunday. But before we bring on the guests, let me do the cosmic forecast. By the way, please like, share, and subscribe. I always forget. But today is Monday. It is the 30th, the last day of this month in this year, in this time in history. The sun is in Libra. The moon is in Virgo. As in fact, as of 6:20 tomorrow evening, no, tonight, it goes into the sign of Libra because it's going to be a new moon coming up soon. It's an 8 universal month, a 3 universal week, and 11 master number universal days. So those who are in the signs of Leo, Aquarius, or Cancer, or born on the 2nd, 7th, 11th, or 16th, like my guest, the 20th, 25th, 29th, there is no 31 days. Okay, see, I'm always trying to catch them. Okay, listen, hold on. That's the beauty of when you're doing live shows, okay? I try not to make these mistakes, but sometimes they're going to happen. But anyway, without further ado, I want to bring on Lyric, Cali. I know she is a beautiful lady. Hey, Lyric.
Hey.
What's up, girl?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me, Lloyd. I'm so honored to be here, especially on this moon in Virgo. That's amazing.
Well,
That
you are a Virgo anyway, so that
I
makes
know
sense, you
it
know.
does.
And happy
Yeah.
belated birthday, young lady. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, we were talking about the moon is going to change into a new moon this evening at 6:10,
Hmm.
or is it tomorrow? 6:10 tomorrow. My brain is already ahead to the second of the new moon day on Wednesday.
I understand.
And one of the things you wanted to talk about was the lunar eclipse. By the way, excuse me, I knew there was something I was supposed to do. And this is harvest celebration.
Yes, yes, yes. So basically, every so often, usually when there are very, very monumental astrological events that happen, I like to put together what's called a celebration. Some people might call it a group ritual or a candlelight vigil or a candle service. And it's funny because I believe the first time we met, it was because you saw one of my celebrations on Instagram. So
Yes,
this
I
is
did.
amazing. It's full circle. Yeah, but it's basically just that, I try to create these beautiful altars and advise people that they should make a donation so that a candle can be added to the altar on their behalf. And it's really almost like a praying, just a time of prayer. I usually do it for myself anyway. So one day I decided to offer this service to other people. And it's a very, very small donation. And I generally use the donations for materials. I don't really do the events to, make a profit or anything like that. But it's just something really great that I find that really brings people together. And I've had so many different relationships and so many people kind of create community with each other because of these celebrations, and just us, speaking and all kind of having the same, desires and the same wishes and the same type of ideas. So I'm very, very excited about it. I'm going to be performing it on the 2nd. So if, anyone who's interested, they should definitely, I'm going to have someone from my family drop a link for people to make a donation. And so they can go ahead and make the donation, and that'll go towards their candle on the altar. But it's going to be absolutely amazing. And it's going to really help anyone who's not into or doesn't know how to do rituals, but is interested in them, or doesn't know how to dress candles, or doesn't know what items to use to, really take advantage of the energy. And I'm super, super excited about it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Now, I don't think you gave me the link where people can tune in for that. Did you?
Oh, yeah. So I have some family members in the chat that'll be dropping the
Make
link to
sure they do
everybody.
that. And Jazz
Yes,
Aphrodite, knowing her, she'll see it and also put it on blast too, as they
I'm
say.
sure.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Right. Good enough. Good enough.
Yes.
There's a couple of things. It's
Mhm.
not only just a new moon ritual, it's
Mhm.
also a lunar eclipse, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, so actually, it's a solar eclipse.
Or solar.
Yes, it's a solar eclipse, which is very, very interesting. I always try to explain eclipses to people because, of course, they're like the scientific words that, people don't really understand. But basically, what's happening is that the sun, the moon, and the earth are all going to be aligned. And to me, I think about it like putting a key into a lock, right? If you have a key, it has to align with the pattern of the lock. Otherwise, you can't open a door,
Makes
right?
sense. Makes
You know
sense.
what I mean?
Hmm.
So that's all that this eclipse is really about. It's really about the opening of something new. And even though we don't celebrate the new year, on our calendar until January, if you look at other systems, older countries, they're already celebrating the new year right now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? In fall. And so I really think that this eclipse is going to be a great day to let us know exactly how 2025 is going to be for us. And I just think that there's so much going on in the media, that we don't really get a chance to sit down and think about how time is moving. Time is moving faster.
Hmm. Hmm.
Time is moving a lot faster. And it's important that we sit down and take note of events like eclipses, because understanding what's going on with the planets and understanding what's going on with the moon and the sun, that's timekeeping. Another great example of that is, a lot of people may not remember this, but under Bush's administration, he actually changed what is considered to be daylight saving. So we used to start setting our clocks back in September. Now we don't set them back or forward until November. So even though we've already started losing light, our clocks are not reflecting that.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I really like to take advantage of these wonderful events, and I really like to make everyone aware of what's happening. This particular eclipse, not only is it a new moon, which always is going to bring in new beginnings, new opportunities. You know what I mean? Just new, right? It's a new moon.
Hmm.
And because it's in the sign of Libra, which is a very, 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 very important, I don't want to say it's an important sign, but what it represents is a very important energy. It's the energy of balance, right? The energy of unity, the energy of enterprise, the energy of family, the energy of community. And so I really think that it's very important that during the eclipse on Wednesday, that people are making an effort to be around people that they really want to be around in 2025, you know? And it is also, even though it has some great, you know, characteristics, there are also, you know, some not so great characteristics of Libra that we all need to be aware of, like war,
Okay.
right?
Like
And
who?
war.
You know, that's very interesting because that's what I'm going to be talking about on Wednesday about this
Really?
being a, yes, see, October of this
Mhm,
year, that starts next month,
mhm.
represents a 9 universal month.
Okay.
9 governs war, 9 governs
Mhm,
fires, explosions,
mhm,
injuries,
mhm,
nick. So I'm going to go into detail about certain cities and countries
mhm.
that are governed by, and since 9 is governed by Mars, the warlike planet, notice
Right.
the increase of what's going on in the Middle East, notice the increase
Mhm,
going on in Ukraine. It seems like
mhm.
people are just, instead of kind of de-escalating, it seems to be escalating,
Words.
which is not good.
Mhm.
So I'll be talking about that. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And thank you for speaking about that, because I think we live in a time where a lot of people are afraid to touch on things like that, you
Hmm.
know. So it's very important that we talk about it. And also, one thing that comes with war that people forget to think, like, it's not just violent wars, it can be spiritual warfare, it can be
Yes,
commerce warfare,
yes,
you know what I
yes,
mean? So
exactly.
yeah, it's not just necessarily about, about violence, but all of that plays a role in itself. I remember when I was reading something about World War II, and I really want to advise everyone to really do research on World War II and the Great Depression, because I think that we are approaching a time that will be similar to that time, because everything is in a circle, right? Everything goes in
Yeah,
a circle.
everything is cyclical.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And I remember in the documentary I was watching, the narrator said the only person or the only country that won World War II was the United States of America. And he was explaining how the Industrial Revolution really changed American history and really put us forward. And that's when our money was, everybody wanted our money, right? And if you
Yeah,
look at what's
yeah.
happening in the economy, we're actually at a point where nobody wants our money again, you know? So it's just very, very interesting to see everything play out. And then the more you learn astrology and numerology, just all of the metaphysical sciences, you kind of can almost predict things, you know, as they happen. I always tell scholars and priestesses that, you know, usually if you study correctly, you can be about 10 years ahead of the world and maybe about 5 or 6 years ahead of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very, very important that we're taking note and not being afraid, you know, to prepare for
Well, you
things.
know, it's interesting being prepared financially. We should, because you were right that during that time when the United States won World War II and dominated, you know, they said if you want to understand at that time in the early 70s, if you wanted to know the international language, just pull out the dollar bill. Well,
Mhm.
since 1971, the United States has lost close to 70 to 80 to 90% of its purchasing power. So that's why things are so sky high, from food to rent
Right,
and whatnot. So
right.
the fiat currency, as they call it,
Yeah.
is really being challenged right now. So if people want to know why everything is so expensive, from a lemon that I saw
Mhm.
nearly $2, and like
Mhm.
one lemon, are we serious? You
Yeah.
know, it reflects the losing power of the dollar bill. So
Mhm.
what are some of the negatives you said? You said there would be some of the positives about the Libra aspect. So what about some of the challenges? I shouldn't say negative. I'll put it
Yeah.
this way. What about the challenges?
Yes, that's a wonderful, wonderful question. So, some of the challenges that can come with a Libra or the Libra energy, excuse me, can be like isolation. There are some people that are going to prefer to be alone at this time. Okay, and that's fine. And
Hmm.
then there are this Libra also, Libras are very, very good at discerning who is a friend and who is a foe, right?
Hmm.
And they
Hmm.
have a very, very good memory. If you do something to a Libra, they're never going to forget it, right? They're never going to forget it. And so it's very, very important at this time that people are aware of who is around them, because at this time a lot of enemies are going to be revealed. People, and when I say enemies, I don't necessarily mean, I think people hear enemies and they think about combat, right? You think somebody going to walk up to you in the middle of the street and just like,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
an
yeah.
enemy can literally be someone who just doesn't have your best interest. An enemy can literally be a jealous family member. An enemy could be a jealous coworker. An enemy could be a greedy boss, right? Anyone who doesn't operate within your best interest around this time, it is going to be exposed. And it's very important about how you conduct yourself, right? Are you going to take note of it? Which is what you should. You should take note of it, you know, put it in your memory, but not necessarily act on it. You want to really exercise emotional intelligence, because Libra can also be very, very emotionally immature.
Really?
Very, very emotionally immature. They'll almost neglect, basically, they'll neglect their emotions. They won't even deal with them, right? Or you
Hmm.
have sometimes where they can be over emotional when it's like, oh my goodness, like, you know what I mean? So
Hmm. Hmm.
it's a very, very sensitive matter. And then another thing that people should really think about is their pride, right? Not being too prideful about certain things, and knowing when to ask for help, knowing when to seek community, and knowing when it's okay to be like, you know, listen, you know, I need some help. My grandfather, I I can just hear his voice just as clear as day. I remember growing up, he used to say, he was a Libra, and he used to say, I'm gonna die standing up. And I never really understood what that meant. And
Hmm.
then, like, as I was thinking just today, I was like, wow, okay, I see what he meant. He didn't want to be in a position in his old age where people had to care for him, or that he, you know, was dependent on somebody too much.
To
And
take care of him. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? And I
Sure.
think that is a very, 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 it's a tightrope. It's a thin line, you know, because sometimes we do need help, you know,
But you know
sometimes.
what's also interesting when you talk about pride, with
Mhm,
us about to enter a 9 universal month tomorrow, I
mhm.
always explain the 9 energy normally think they're the greatest thing since ice cream. Okay. Which means they
Mm,
got this huge ego, this
yeah,
huge pride. But
mhm,
sometimes it's about kind of keeping things in check. That, like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? If
yeah,
that's going to be the kind of energy that's going to be indicated. But you know, we all take pride to some degree, but not to the extreme where it then interferes or spill over into somebody else's situation. So I kind of
right.
like your grandfather's way of saying, in other words, he's going to take care of himself until it's really, really to the point where he can't.
Yep,
Okay.
and he did. He really did. He really did. And another thing about Libra that I would really, really like to explain to people, because all astrological signs are connected to a certain place in our body.
Hmm.
My grandfather passed away of kidney disease, right? And Libra actually rules the kidneys.
And so does the number 6, which governs Libra.
Wow. Okay. See, that's amazing. I see how we
Yeah.
just
See,
connecting
all of this
everything
is
together.
related. That's why I got hooked on this. But go right ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So, I do want to warn people to make sure that they're taking care of their blood. And when I say taking care of their blood, I mean like using herbs, like, you know, cleansing herbs, herbs that cleanse the blood, like dandelion leaf, or uh, burdock root, things like that. And then if you think about it, we're in the fall, which if you pay attention to the produce section, you're going to see more root vegetables, right? And those roots are very, very powerful for cleaning out our blood. We have to really, really cleanse our blood, especially since we're coming into the season where, you know, people are getting ill. And we are also going into the season. A lot of people don't like to talk about this, but we're going into the season basically of death, right?
Hmm.
And so it's very, very important that people are taking care of their blood. If you're diabetic, really, really watch the sweets, because Libra also governs over the taste buds, particularly the
Yeah.
palate of sweetness. You know what I mean? So, you know, people need to
Now,
be
would it
very,
also be good to, shall we say, detox? Would that be like the same
yes,
thing?
Absolutely. I'm actually fasting right now from sun up to sundown. I don't eat anything. So right after the show, I'll be eating. Um, but that's something that I've been doing in preparation for the new moon, just kind of already getting my body in a detoxing like state, because that's all fasting is a detox.
Well, you know what's interesting? Later this month, I'm going to have a doctor on
Hmm.
who specialize in detox. They
Oh,
developed
really?
a machine that
Yeah.
actually detox the body. So it's very, very interesting. So all this is in perfect timing,
Oh,
you know.
yeah, it's amazing.
So now, what do you say some of the herbs that people should need if they can't get to a detox machine? What you said, dandelion roots, burdock was those a couple of the things you mentioned?
Yeah, so it's so funny because my father, um, he gave me this formula a long, long time ago. It was alfalfa, it was red clover, and it was dandelion leaf. Just those three. And it's so funny because dandelion, you can find dandelion growing on the sidewalk. You can
Yes.
find
Yeah.
red clover growing on the sidewalk. You know what I mean? And alfalfa is a little bit harder to find growing, but not impossible. And any root vegetable, burdock root, beets, even potatoes are really good for cleansing the blood. A lot of people don't know that. You just can't fry them. But potatoes are really good for cleansing. Anything red, anything that looks like blood is really good for cleansing the blood. But we can eat our medicine. And even like I said, not eating, fasting is a really, really good way to detox. And it's also a really good way to prepare for the season of overindulgence. Like, right after October, well, really in October, because we have Halloween, we kind of start to just overindulge in eating and spending and all of these, just doing just the most, right? Which is the opposite, if you think about it, of what nature is doing. In the fall and winter, nature it like curls up, it's dormant. You know what I mean? And we're just doing the complete opposite. And it's crazy because the trees don't say nothing to us or nothing. They just, it's almost like they watch us just run around and they just like, look at what are they doing? And so it's very, very interesting, the time that we're on and the ideas that we have about life and about what we're supposed to do, and how a lot of times they don't mimic what's actually happening in nature.
But you know what's so interesting is this.
Mhm.
In the day of your grandfather, which is my grandparents, and your
Mhm.
father,
Mhm.
where they did things more organically, like you said, you could find dandelions on the sidewalk or, you
Right.
know what I'm saying, in the street and stuff. We don't know how to look for those things that our elders in the South and the Caribbean naturally look for, which is why
Mm.
they didn't go to hospitals unless it was extremely necessary. They would
Mhm.
go out into the
Mhm.
woods and pick some flowers or barks or leaves or whatever, come back, put the concoction together, and we were okay.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and we're in a totally, totally, totally different space where we are dependent on other people for almost for everything.
I know.
And it's gonna be a culture shock when things are not as available, because that's the next step. Everything is going to get really, really high, and then there are going to be things that are no longer available. You know what I mean? And so people need to prepare for that, because I think that it's going to cause a lot of people to kind of almost lose their minds. You know what I mean? Because they can't get this or they can't get that, not because they don't have the money, but just because it's just not available. You know what I mean? And then there's so many different things going on with all of these tech giants. They're all wrapped in lawsuits. So I just want people to think about the possibility that they open their phone one day and that it doesn't come on, or or it
People are
doesn't.
gonna go out their minds. They can't get a hold of this. So
What? People are gonna go crazy, but I really think that that time is coming. And I think even if you just think about it from a war standpoint, just about everything that is in our markets, especially our technology, is imported from somewhere else.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So if things, if if it go down, you know what I mean? The first thing that other places are gonna do is basically cut off resources to here, right? But I think that that's going to basically fuel another sort of industrial revolution, right? And I think that people are going to really start to create things more, and people are going to start, acquiring different skills. Right now, like college tuition enrollment rates are down because these younger kids, they just want to make the money on their phone.
Yeah, but that's how it's projected.
Yeah.
Well, just get this, and you get $10,000 a month. And not
Mm-hmm.
only that, there are people literally in their 60s and 70s still paying their college loans.
That's right. That's right. And it didn't used to be like that. People didn't used to have to, sell their house to send their kids to school.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I
But some
mean?
people did. Some people really, really did. And that just seems to be, and maybe this is it, but you know what brings to mind too, not too long ago in another part of the world,
Mm-hmm.
all the phones were cut off to control the
Really?
politics. Yes. Yes, it was in some Asian country or something like that. And
Mm.
what they did was they cut off everybody's phone, because now with the cell phone, we can text 100 people, we could
Mm-hmm.
call 100 people and spread the word. But by controlling the internet, the Wi-Fi services, things
Right.
like that,
Mm-hmm.
they will
Yeah.
try to keep you in the dark. But still, you know what? In sales, they will tell you, any corporation, is the best sales tactic is word of mouth. So word of mouth is
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I was just talking with Jazz about that, because I've noticed that the metaphysical and the spiritual advisement and any type of spiritual anything, the market is being very, very oversaturated on the internet, right? There's
yeah.
any, but you know, it was only a matter of time because now it's mainstream. Now you have commercials of people doing readings and people having crystals, and it's not as taboo as it used to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's
You know what I
exactly
mean?
right. Hmm.
Yeah. So what a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, because I'm sure there are a lot here that watch you, what we're really gonna have to do is really start, stepping our game up and really get out into the world and be networking in the world. I feel like the old school advisors, y'all got it down pat. You know what I mean? Y'all know how to, pick up the
But see,
phone and
that was
call
before
somebody.
internet came along and you had to do your research. There wasn't no Google happening where you
Right.
go back into Google. No, we had to go into the books and we had to
Yeah.
research and put everything
Yeah.
together. So I
Yeah.
tell my students or anybody that I'm teaching, the older the books, the better, because the
Mm.
people had to do their homework,
Wow.
not just push a button. Well, the benefits of this on Google, the benefit of
Mhm.
this on that platform, but to really have to do the research and dig in, go to libraries or whatever the case is, or go to specialists. So
Yeah.
things are kind of different. But
Mhm.
with the full moon, well, with the new moon, it normally
Mhm.
represents new beginnings.
Yes.
How would you say?
Yes, absolutely. I really think that the new moon is going to balance, like I said, spiritual warfare, right? It's going to be the mainstream advisors, the ones that have made, a whole lot of money, have a very, very wide audience, not knocking them. That's great that they were able to take that there, but it's a different experience, right? It's a different realm. It's just a different experience. It's going to be them versus I guess you could say grassroots, type of advisors that are really, really in the community and might not even be on Instagram. There are a lot of great spiritual advisors that are not even on social media.
Yeah, yeah,
People
you're
that
right.
can change your life. You're not even super active on social media, like to the point,
Well,
how,
actually, my kids got me on it. Dad, you need to. No, I don't.
yeah.
So I have got on it. But if anybody looks at my social media, 9 times out of 10, it's about a guest on a show or
Yeah.
a topic that I talk about, not who I took out to dinner. To me, I don't think
Right.
people have two kids. So okay, so you took somebody eating, you had a burger, whatever, steak, whatever. I don't think people are, but people will post anything
They
nowadays.
will. Yeah, that is the demand. Like the demand is for just complete transparency. And it's crazy because I was always taught that like you shouldn't tell everybody everything.
Well, we both sevens, see, you and I.
Yeah.
So we ain't gonna tell all our business at all.
Oh,
You know what
I,
I'm
I
saying?
love my
And
I
it's
love my
not
privacy.
secretive. People will
Yeah.
misinterpret it as we're being secretive, but the nature
Hmm.
of our numbers, because we're both sevens and
Hmm.
fours, sevens and fours are those privacy numbers. They just don't put all their business out here. But I do have a question that
Hmm.
was posed to you, which you said at the top of the show about spiritual work.
Hmm.
And this person says, how often do we need to do our spiritual work? Which I think is a great question. What would you suggest?
Uh, to be honest, it depends on where you are in your journey. Okay.
Makes
I'm
sense.
at a I'm sorry.
No, I says makes sense. I'm
Okay,
agreeing.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely depends on where you are at your journey. I'm in a space where I do something as far as like rituals and things like that just about every day. Like, I'm burning incense every day. I'm doing nature walks with intention every day. I'm doing, when I'm preparing my food, I pray into my food. You know what I mean? So it just really depends on where you are in your journey and how intentional you are with things. I will say this though, and this is another thing that I just recently started to experiment with. But they are basically on the road to legalizing mushrooms. And
I
yes,
heard. Yeah. So you can
yes,
go on a trip legally.
yes, yes. And so I've worked with the mushrooms, and ever since that I worked with the mushrooms, I'm not gonna lie, I have been kind of like I've just been a lot more sensitive to things that are happening around me. I've been a lot more aware. I've been a lot more aligned. It's so funny today. Something happened where I was just thinking, I was like, it's crazy. Like if you pay attention to the earth pays attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like if you make an effort to like pick up trash, or you make an effort to look at a tree and be like, "Oh my God, that's a beautiful tree." You'd be amazed how time can, because the earth controls time, right? We're not controlling our own time. And you'll just be amazed how, time is almost like shifted in your favor when you do things to the earth. Just like people who are like farmers and gardeners and things like that, they have a very, very different, you know, outlook on life. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And one
Yeah.
of them
So
perfectly is especially the Amish community.
yeah,
One of the things about the Amish community, they don't get no vaccines. They don't have no autism. They don't have no
nothing,
PhDs. They don't have none of that.
nothing. It's
None
so
of that.
funny. It's so funny that you mentioned them because I was traveling by train, and we saw quite a few people of the Amish community on the train. And I noticed something very interesting. The younger ones had computers.
Interesting.
They had computers, and I was like, now I know that that's not something that traditionally that
Comes
they
out of
do.
their home. No. Mm-mm. Not
Yeah,
in
but
the
I
family.
noticed, yeah, I noticed that they had computers. And I really love, one of the reasons why I became a spiritual advisor, and I like to call myself a spiritual advisor because even though I do readings, I'm not just a tarot reader. Like, I really enjoy advising people and being a guide to people. Tarot readings are great. Readings are wonderful, don't get me wrong. But I really love to like really analyze people's birth charts and, their upbringings, their traditions, their spirituality, their religions, so that one, I can learn, and two, it just really helps me to really get to know people. And one thing, like when I really, really started to, that's why I was saying to answer that question, it really is about where you are
Mm-hmm.
in your journey, as far as how much work you need to be doing. When
Well,
I
in
really,
fact, there's
really,
an answer to this. When you finish, I want to show what the person did. They wrote almost exactly what you said.
really,
For example, here's it is. It says weekly was the question to how often. If you're a very busy person, but daily rituals, didn't you say daily?
Yes, daily,
We put in
daily.
place to keep you
Yes,
protected, and
daily.
especially with everything going on right now, which is Ashe.
I
Okay, it is true.
That's right.
It is true.
Yeah, yeah. It's great. It's great. Shout out to her. That's my family right there. That's me familiar right there. So I'm so honored. I'm so honored because I have truly um come to a point in my life where I'm aligned with all the right people. And I
As it
don't think
should be. As it should be.
as it should be, right?
Yes,
As
as
it
it
should
should
be,
be.
as it should be. And I'm very grateful, and I hope that everybody really takes advantage of this eclipse as a time to really just get it together. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is that you want to create, whoever it is that you want to be with, that's another thing that's really going to come with this eclipse is unions. Okay.
What do you
It's
mean?
So right now is really a good time to start to come together. You know what I
Got it.
mean?
Got it.
So if you're married, if y'all thinking about getting a divorce, not this year, like because y'all can't afford it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
nobody can afford to be separated, and not even just money wise, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Nobody can really afford to be alone at this point because the way that things are going, we are stronger in groups. You
But
know what I mean?
that's so amazing because six, which is ruled by Venus, governs
Mhm.
family. And one of the
Oh,
challenges in this country now is the lack of family. That's why I said the
right.
Live with Lloyd family. Families
Hmm.
tend to stick together.
Yeah.
Families tend to be more protective.
Yes.
Families tend to more, kind of just look out for each other. And there's a cohesion, and we
Yes.
all in the same boat together. But
Yeah.
it's almost so when things go down, those who are by themselves and don't think they need somebody. I don't need a man. I don't need a woman. I don't need.
Mhm.
You will need somebody before it's all
Someday.
over. I'm telling you, you have no clue what's about to go down.
That's right. Yeah, it's about to get real. Things are about to get very, very, very sticky, and I think that it's necessary though because, like you said, the challenges that we're having. That's another thing that I really love about Libra is that it's balancing. So all of the challenges that we're having. 2025, I think so many different solutions are going to be provided. This year was really about exposure and things coming to surface, but 2025 is going to be all about solutions and creativity and completing projects because a lot of us have wonderful entrepreneurial spirits, but we're afraid to quit that 9 to 5 because we don't want to lose our
Yeah,
insurance. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
We're afraid of success, and that's something that I'm very,
That's
very guilty of.
interesting. Yeah, it's almost
Yeah,
self-sabotage.
exactly. You self-sabotage, but failure. Well, I don't know where my fear of success came from because most of my life I've succeeded at just about anything that I wanted to do. I think though, like once I created my family, once I had a child, it was almost like, well, okay, well now I can't lose, so I'm not even gonna try. You
Right,
know what
don't
I
even
mean?
think about it.
Yeah.
I need to ask
Yeah.
you a question. I
Hmm.
know you are a Virgo. You just
Yes.
had a birthday 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Do you know where your moon or your ascendant is? Because somebody tried to guess Aries. I know why they said Aries. You know why they said Aries, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Because the red, I have
Oh,
one.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the red dress. And this is
Yeah.
what she says. She says, "Well, dang, I'm off. I'm getting Aries energy." So that's because a little
That's
up there, she
interesting.
says, "He's an Aries." And I said,
Yeah.
"No, no, he's not."
Yeah.
So
No,
I
that's super
wanted to know
interesting.
out of curiosity, did you have an Aries, like an Aries ascendant or Aries
Mm-mm.
moon, maybe?
Nope, I don't. There's a Taurus. I'm a Taurus ascending. So Taurus is very close to Aries, though.
Yeah, right next door.
Yeah, they're right next
Yeah,
door. So
yeah.
yeah, that's interesting that she picked that energy up because I've really been trying to get more into that Taurus energy because Virgo, that's the mother, you know,
Hmm.
and I believe that motherhood really just put me in a space. It's like, okay, well, I'm a mother, and I had to kind of put that Taurus, energy to the side. But now I'm finding that I really need to, use that energy because when it's dormant, kind of just lose my mind, like, and I was definitely in a bit of a depression. But I think that I had just been convinced that because I became a mother, I had to be a certain way. But as I started talking to other mothers, I realized that there are all sorts of different mothers. There's really no such thing as a good mother or a bad mother. We're just all different. You know what I mean? And then our
Mhm.
children are different. So some things some children might need, and then other things some children might need. And so it's very, very complicated. And I really feel like, there's not enough said about how hard it is to be a mother. Like, and even a father. It's hard to be a father as well. I think it's harder to be a father than it is to be a mother
Well,
because
I bear witness. I bear witness
yeah.
to my family. Trust
Yeah,
me.
because you guys have to really put your foot down. You have to be the discipline. You have to have that because you have to have discipline. You have to. And it's a lot harder to really, um draw that line, for your kids and to let them know, because as a mother, of course, you want them to experience things and you want them to have a great time, but you also want
Yeah,
them to be protected and you want them to, and the father is just a total, and that's another thing that we're really going to have to work on in 2025, like you said, bringing that family dynamic back together, because there's a lot of different things going on, like on social media and stuff, and I just look at these things and I'm like, who raised these people? And the answer is like nobody. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like there's a
yeah.
whole generation of children whose mothers maybe had to work a lot, and their fathers may have not necessarily been around. So they kind of raised themselves. And then you have some people who were over parented to the point where now they're out in the world and don't have the skills to be adults because they were just used to always being the child. Like there's a lot of different family dynamic issues, and that's another thing that's really going to come to surface with this eclipse energy. So if people find themselves in family conflicts and things like that, or some family secrets come about, I really think people should just step back, don't take things personally, and just understand that family is nothing but a group of people, and everyone is different, everyone is unique. And then now you have blended families, right? You have people that are having children with people that are in a whole different subgroup or from a whole
Mm-hmm.
different
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
part of the United States and
Yeah,
things like that.
culture. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly, whole different culture. So it's just very, very important at this time that we are open to accepting change. That's very, very important in this time, is being open to accept change. Like
Well,
that's so
Lyric, that one of the things about when you said who are raising these kids,
mhm.
unfortunately, a lot of cell phones, tablets, and computers are
Yes.
raising our kids. And they've now been reports that when you give a child one of these things too early, and I
Mhm.
saw something on one of these platforms where the children went bonkers when you took their tablets or you
That's right.
took their cell phones or
Yeah.
whatnot. Just
Yeah.
seems to just lost control. One young man destroyed the entire kitchen of this woman's house. Now, in the old days, he'd have got a whooping, as they say.
Right.
Okay? It's just that simple. All right.
Yeah.
He destroyed that mother's entire kitchen. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work we got to do. I will say this. Is it true that cucumber water is excellent for you?
Oh, so cucumbers, I love cucumbers. I'm having deja vu right now. I remember one of my favorite lines that I think my grandmother used to say it. I don't remember, but I remember somebody being like, "I'm cool as a cucumber." And I used
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I used
yeah.
to always, kind of wonder what that meant. But cucumber is wonderful because it's mostly water and it's mostly chlorophyll, right? So it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing to incorporate into your diet. And then it's also, I always like to explain this to people, anything that is erect or, like stands up like this, like squash, cucumbers, corn, anything that's a straight line is always really good for your energy, right? Because that's what the
Interesting.
vegetable is doing,
Interesting.
It's
Interesting.
yeah. Yeah, so cucumbers are absolutely amazing. I don't really eat them a lot now. I do though, like pickles and like relish. I like pickled cucumbers. And that's another thing that people need to really incorporate into their diet, especially coming into the winter, is fermented foods. A lot of people don't know that collard greens, the traditional collard green recipe calls for apple cider vinegar. And if you put enough in it, it will ferment the greens. And so it becomes a fermented food. And, most Black people in the United States, we don't really eat any fermented foods. You know what I mean?
Now,
We
for
don't really,
those who may not understand, can you explain what fermented food means, please?
yes. So fermentation is basically the process to where there are different organisms present in your food. And these organisms are the same organisms that are within your digestive system, right? Your digestive system is literally it's just a party. Like, it's so many different organisms, so many different moving parts. And so fermentation is usually live bacteria, certain live bacteria and good bacteria, because of course there's good bacteria and there's bad bacteria. But fermented foods is anything that has sat in something like vinegar. So good examples of this would be like kimchi is really popular, pickles, or anything pickled, anything that people, put into vinegar for long periods of time.
Hmm.
It basically starts to break down whatever you put in with the vinegar. But the organisms that have been broken down, they stay within the food. You know what I mean? They're not destroyed by heat. So it's basically like you're eating a live food. That's all fermented
That
food
makes
is.
sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense. That
it's
makes a
something
lot of
that's
sense
alive.
when you
It's
put it like
broken down, but it's still alive. So you can eat it and not worry about not necessarily it being raw, because raw foods are not bad. But since most of us are not on a raw diet, when we eat raw food, sometimes our body has a problem with digesting it, which is something that we have to work on too. But I just think fermented foods are just excellent, like I said, for gut health. Especially, there are a lot of pregnant women running around and they don't really stress in your appointments, how important it is as a pregnant woman to have wonderful gut health. That's like the main core of a lot of different problems that
and you
pregnant
don't
women.
even think about that. You don't
No,
even
they
give it a
don't.
second thought.
No, they don't. And men have a lot of problem with gut health as well. Like, baldness can sometimes be I don't want to
That
say
situation.
yeah. Your gut, people call it the second brain, but it's really the first brain. You know what I'm saying? If you know that saying, like, I felt it in my gut.
Good.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like your gut is very, 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 very important. Very, very important. And usually, people just forget that. We only eat to survive and to not be hungry. We don't necessarily like eat to give life, and to restore vitamins and nutrients, which is something
But
we have.
food is supposed to give life. That's its whole purpose.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But now we eat for flavor and taste and enjoyment and endorphins, for
And
our
but we
mind to go
suffer
off.
greatly. We suffer greatly because
We
of
do.
it.
We
Just
do.
the taste bud is more the taste bud as looking at nutrition. In fact, there was some survey, some statement in Washington or Congress about why is it you got all these chemicals in like cereals or whatever, but when you send that and it's also manufactured by the American businesses, but when you
Mhm.
send that product over to other countries and parts of the world, you ain't got none of that stuff up in there. And I'm
Nope.
trying to figure out if all of this is made in America,
Mhm.
why don't the countries in America provide the same amount of ingredients that they send overseas
Hmm.
that their administration is not going to accept?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting, because that's another reason why food is sky high, because most of our produce section, I want to advise everybody the next time they go to the produce section to look at that sticker, right? The little sticker that's on your produce, and
Yep.
it will tell you where the food is coming from. Most produce in the produce section is being imported. Okay.
Hmm.
There's like very, very few items in the produce section that were grown here in the United States, which means, as soon as you take a plant off of its root system, it begins to deteriorate. It begins to die. So basically, a lot of the food that we're eating, and people will notice that, I've noticed this with a lot of people, a lot of the food that we're buying in the produce section, we bring it home, we have it for 2 days, and then it's gone bad.
Hmm. Hmm.
But it's had a long life. It had to be cut, it had to be packed, it had to be
Had to
shipped.
be shipped. Yep. And
Yeah,
then
it had
had
to
to go
make
to
it here.
market and spread out or the count. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Several process
yeah,
before we get our hands on it.
that's right. Yeah, it goes through a lot of different processes. So
Listen.
eating locally is something that we really need to think about, for 2025, and that's a great thing to do, on the eclipse, is to go to a farmer's market, if you can, or if you have a garden, pull some stuff out, or if you know somebody with a garden, if there's a community garden. We really, really, really need to get a good grip on this food, because that a lot of people don't know starvation and food deprivation is a weapon of war,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we have
And
to really.
listen, this also, this lady here says this person already seeing high demands of Africa. Because when you talk about,
Mhm,
farmers market, they're
mhm,
saying the demand for African food is in American markets as well too. For
mhm.
example, I have honey. I only get the African honey when they have their mosque
Mm.
on Fridays.
Mhm,
Because now honey has been a lot of fructose and other things.
mhm.
When you take African honey, so by the African communities, and put a teaspoon, it drops immediately to the bottom. That's when you can tell when it's excellent honey. It goes straight to the bottom.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
that's all I get is African honey. I don't get no other
Yeah,
honey but African honey.
yeah,
Not to
that's
talk
so
about
interesting.
anybody else, but that's where I
Yeah,
go.
yeah, that's so interesting. I haven't. The only thing that I really pulled from the African culture that I really, really enjoy is palm oil, cooking with palm oil, pure palm oil, the orange oil.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
that's one of my one of my favorite. But I've been gravitating towards those markets as of late. But I feel like, if anything, well, African Americans, we don't have a food path, right? We don't have countries that we can send mail to and be like, hey, they tripping, ain't no food in the market, we need y'all to send us some food, right? But the Africans, they can write to their countries and food will be imported. The Asians can write home to their countries and food will be imported. So I think I kind of wanted to make connections with the Africans, because I felt like, if anybody was going to sell something to me, it would be them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
so I think it's very, very important that, again, I can't stress this enough, that we start to really grow our own food, or at least, start to learn how to grow food and preserve food and all. Food is literally the most essential, I think,
It is
aspect.
life. Food is
Yes,
life, you
yes,
know? It's so
absolutely.
interesting. They feed us a lot of beef, but cows eat grass.
Hmm.
They don't
Hmm.
eat meat,
That
you
is
know?
interesting. That is
Little,
interesting.
little things that's so obvious in your face once you observe animals in nature and what they eat. A
Hmm.
gorilla, as huge and big as that gorilla is, eat leaves from a tree.
All
All
day,
that. They
all day.
don't be eating no meat.
Yep,
None.
all day. It's very, very interesting if you look at any other mammal, at their diet, and then look at ours. You know what I mean? It's almost embarrassing. You know what I mean? Like, that we are at a point where we are, just almost, like walking and living without, guidance, you know, and we're just walking and living to spend money.
And
And
this country's paying a dear price for it too.
dear
Health
price.
wise, it takes to get sick. So you can have a person become a multimillionaire, but you give all that money to the doctor just trying to try to get your health back.
Ugh,
When all we got to do is do it correct in the beginning
yeah,
and be more conscious of what we eat, what we
yeah.
put into our body temples,
Mhm.
so we can. But everything is profit driven in this country,
For
especially
sure.
health.
Yeah, yeah. And this is another thing I want to say about that, because I really feel like nobody is talking about it. The alcoholism and the drug addiction and not even just street drugs, but prescription drugs that's happening in our community, that has to stop. It has to stop. Like now, it's gotten to a point where it's just out of control. I've never seen so many intoxicated people in my life. And I've worked at bars and hookah lounges and I've been, in those type of environments. And it seems now that like nobody has the understanding of moderation. It's just indulge, 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 indulge. And, we are seeing a lot of deaths happening that are not necessary. I don't care what anybody says.
And younger than they're supposed to.
And younger than they're supposed to. There's no way, that these kids are. So I'm originally from Los Angeles, and I noticed, particularly maybe like a few weeks ago, I started seeing all these deaths, on my social media. And I'm like, I'm naturally curious because we're the same age. So I need to figure out what took you out so that I can.
Yeah. So
you
don't go that way. Yeah.
I need to know what I need to be looking for. So I noticed that a lot of people are overdosing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? A lot of people are getting into these domestic disputes that are ending in murder. And that just did not used to be. And it's very, very unfortunate, and it's very I'm afraid. I'm very afraid for, not just people who look like me, but everyone, because when the children are the future. If the kids is dead,
there is no future.
There is no future.
There is no future. And I mean, that's obvious.
You know what I mean? Like, so we have to stop, just accepting, people's addictions. Oh, Uncle Elroy, yeah, he drank. That's what he do. No, we need to get Uncle Elroy in therapy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Change his lifestyle.
Yes, it's a lifestyle. And then it affects everyone around Uncle Elroy.
You know what, though? I got to be honest. It's been a while since you've been on this show, but you got to come back sooner because we're supposed to hold up. One of the things it's supposed to be doing is also doing. She also does readings because when she first came on, that's exactly what she was doing. So
absolutely.
Hold on. Let me just do this a second with the banner. Take that off a second. So you do readings, limited availability and whatnot. Let me tell you, this $20 is nothing. You got to understand how the dollar is. This $20 is worth about $3, to be honest with you. So she's doing it for nothing. Okay, practically.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if a limit costs $2, you know what I'm saying? 10 limits, you done spent up all your money.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. It's important to me though, Lloyd, to make sure that, because if you really study spiritual advisement and diviners and readers and things like that, those services were never expensive. Not to the point where people couldn't afford them. You know what I mean? So I've had to adjust my prices based on the economy. I don't want somebody to be in the grocery store like, okay, do I get groceries for the week or do I get a reading with Lyric? You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, but the reality check is too, you got a young man that's growing up. I remember when he would be up under you when I first he would just be all up on you everywhere. Now he's taking his nap like he's supposed to. You got a great and supportive husband, bless his soul. A Gemini, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah. And he encouraged you to step out on faith and stuff like that. So these are the kind of thing of why families are very, very important.
Yes.
So for those that kind of dismiss it, they will be anything. So actually the time is up. This is so embarrassing because I had so many questions, but that's why we're going to do a part 2.
Yes.
And
You got it. Yes.
I told you at the beginning of the show, I was going to wear a red shirt.
I know. Yeah, I'm so excited because I cannot, I knew that this was going to be a great show though. So I'm just excited to see to see the next segment. I'm super excited. Season 2. I love it.
Well, if you don't mind, can I have you back on at some point next month, October?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. That's all I can say.
Yes.
Lyric, I want to thank you so much,
Thank
dear.
you.
Um,
Thank
and
you.
say, hug your young man, hug your husband, and support him. Thank God they're still husband that are very supportive of their family. There's a whole lot of supporting husband and men in a woman's life, but they don't get the airplay. They don't get
Right.
the exposure. But when we are abusing our women or children, of
Yeah.
course, you know what they say, what bleeds leads, or something like that used
That's
to be the
right.
saying.
That's right.
But for
Yeah.
every one of your husbands, there's countless husbands and supportive males out there that are about their family, about protecting of their women and loving and caring and sharing them as
Yes.
we should.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I say to you, beautiful, I want to thank you
Ashe.
very, very much. And
Thank
yes,
you.
so they heard it here on the air. You will be back at some point next month, probably toward the end of the month. Oh yeah, we're
I
gonna do it.
love it.
And then
Yes.
let's switch up. You wear blue, I wear red. Okay.
Perfect. Got it.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
I gotta give props to all my sponsors and whatnot. But hold on one second. Let me do something. I want to do something that Jazz Aphrodite taught me,
Mhm.
believe it or not, and that's to put this on a ticker.
Ooh.
So while I'm announcing my sponsors, people can still see at the bottom. All
I
right.
love it.
Okay.
Okay.
Lyric, thank you so much. Bless you. Bless you and
Thank
your
you.
family.
Bless you.
All right. Good. So as you see, this is Lyric Cali. I call it Cali at first. Lyric sounds better. It just sounds melodic. There's something melodic about that sound. So I want everybody to please support her. You see her cash app is at the end, $ Earth to Lyric, LYIC, as in a lyric that you hear. Um, but I do want to let you know that today's show has been brought to you by our sponsors, which is Intellectual Powers by Rizal Islam. Please go there for all of your services, health supplements and whatnot. The barcode put in when you order. Put it when you order, please. Numbers, and that way you get the discount. I'm trying to double do something just a second because I want to do the next sponsor. I want to make sure you'll get it at the bottom right corner. So please sign up for this class. She sponsored last week. She's sponsoring it this week. So I want to make sure she gets a lot of mileage and support out of this. Please support and go to jazzaphrodite.com to sign up for the master class. And when I say master class, anything, if any of you have been to anything that Jazz Aphrodite done, she is a master class of a person, a master class of an instructor. So I'm blessed to know her too. Um, a Sunday coming up, not too soon. We've been doing this since the summer, but it's almost here. That my good buddy and brother King Simon is going to give a honorary tribute to our ancestral Baba Dick Gregory on the 19th. Also, Miss Kimberly with Manifest on Purpose that comes on every Monday and Wednesday. She also has she has two news shows what's coming out. One is Weekly Wisdom that's going to be out, and also Astronumerology Revealed. So she's expanding her network too. This Sunday, the first Sunday in October, I will be out at 1396 Fulton Street celebrating 50 years of business with Nicholas Brooklyn. Of course, you'll see Monique there. And of course, you'll see my girl Capunia too. All righty. So, and then King Simon at that same location at Nicholas Brooklyn on the 27th, later this month, we'll be having this event there with Sister Amira Hassan and Tamika Royal. Okay, so that's going to be really, really good. Also, the November newsletter will October. See, my brain's already into November because I already did October, but the October newsletter will be out. And for those of you who do want to hear the September newsletter, forecast that I did, just go to YouTube and type in Kimberly underscore KIMBALEY underscore and see it. This was from last month, but this will be out tomorrow. So on the first of the new month, tomorrow at 1 p.m., you can see the audio version. And by Tuesday, hopefully you will have the written version in your emails. And by the way, the emails, the monthly newsletter is absolutely free. All you just do is send it in, your email address, and we'll send it to you. All right. So again, I guess that's it. Now, let me see this. Now, Wednesday, I'm going to be on because there's going to be this lunar eclipse or solar eclipse that Lyric was talking about. I'm going to be talking about that. But I'm going to be talking about 9 because 9 governs fires. And in fact, on page 313 of my book, Numbers in You, I talked about fires. What fires occurs on what days, what months, and things of that nature. Well, since 9 is a stressful number to this nation, October is a stressful month to this country as well. This is going to be a very interesting November. So make sure you'll stay tuned on Wednesday. I'll explain everything as much as I can. And whatever time is left over, I'll get in your business and do some sessions, which I enjoy. But in the meantime, I do want to thank my very special moderator each Monday, Jazz Aphrodite. On Wednesday is Empress Well. I'm a lucky guy. That's all I can tell you. Anyway, all of y'all have a blessed day. See you in a couple of days.